The Middle East war escalated in its fourth week after President Trump demanded that Iran reopen the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours or face strikes on its power plants. Concerns are rising in South Korea as global oil prices fluctuate, though Seoul says the situation remains under control until April. And K-pop superstars BTS returned over the weekend with a large-scale concert in Seoul's Gwanghwamun Square, drawing tens of thousands of fans and viewers around the world. Their new album ARIRANG sold nearly 4 million copies on the first day of release, setting a new record for the group. And President Lee Jae-myung presided over the first Central Integrated Defense Council meeting to assess the country's defense readiness. There, President Lee underscored the importance of self-defense in light of the rapidly changing geopolitical environment. Our top story this evening, the situation in the Middle East continues to intensify. In response to U.S. President Donald Trump's 48-hour ultimatum to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, Iran has pushed back, warning to completely shut down the strait if it continues under attack. Our Park Jun-han leads our coverage tonight.
Iran responded to an ultimatum from U.S. President Donald Trump seeking the full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz by saying the key waterway is not fully closed, it's under its control, and is only restricted to hostile and harmful traffic. On Saturday, Trump threatened to obliterate Iranian power plants, starting with the biggest one first, if the strait was not reopened to ships within 48 hours, with over 24 hours having already passed. Tehran also said it would take immediate punitive measures targeting U.S.-owned energy infrastructure in the Middle East in the event of such an attack.
However, if U.S. threats regarding Iran's power plants are carried out, the following punitive measures will be implemented immediately. The Strait of Hormuz will be completely closed and will remain closed until our damaged power plants are restored.
With the war now in its fourth week, Israel is continuing strikes on Iran and its proxies, while Iran has also claimed responsibility for multiple ballistic missile and drone attacks that injured scores of people near an Israeli nuclear research facility, as well as targets in Gulf countries including the UAE and Kuwait. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
And as tensions in the Middle East intensify, oil prices are on a roller coaster, raising concerns about global energy supplies. The South Korean government says the situation is under control, at least up until April. Moon Hae-ryun files us this report.
Global oil prices are surging amid escalating tensions in the Middle East, putting South Korea on high alert over potential supply disruptions. Uncertainty around the Strait of Hormuz, which carries about 20% of global oil, has driven sharp price swings after Donald Trump demanded that Iran reopen the route. According to Bloomberg on Monday, Brent crude briefly climbed above $114 a barrel, while the U.S. benchmark WTI crossed the $100 mark. The instability comes after the International Energy Agency warns that the crisis could rival or exceed past global energy shocks. Speaking via AFP, the IEA's chief said the situation could combine the impact of the 1970s oil shocks and the 2022 energy crisis, citing widespread damage to energy infrastructure across the region. For South Korea, heavily reliant on imported energy, the stakes are particularly high. During a briefing on Monday, an official from the country's industry ministry said the pace of oil price increases is even steeper than during the opening of the war in Ukraine in 2022. Despite growing fears of a supply crisis, the government insists the situation remains under control, at least for April. The authorities say additional shipments from the United Arab Emirates are scheduled to arrive in the coming weeks, and strategic oil reserves are also set to be released around mid-April if needed. Still, cracks are beginning to show in downstream industries. A sharp spike in naphtha prices, a key petrochemical feedstock, is raising concerns about production disruptions. Industry officials say some companies are already considering shutdowns, with ripple effects expected across the automotive, construction, and electronics sectors. To contain the risks, the government plans to redirect export volumes for domestic use and expand monitoring of key supply chains. Officials are also preparing emergency budget measures to offset rising import costs. While Seoul maintains that immediate shortages can be avoided, much depends on how long the conflict drags on and whether one of the world's most critical oil routes can fully reopen. 문혜련, 아리랑 뉴스.
Seoul has called on Tehran to halt attacks on civilians and civilian facilities in Gulf countries and to ensure safe navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. Foreign Minister Cho Hyun said in this phone call with his Iranian counterpart Sayed Abbas Araghchi on Monday evening. South Korea's foreign ministry says Cho expressed deep concern that the worsening Middle East situation is affecting not only the region but also global security and economy, asking Iran to stop targeting civilians and public infrastructure and to help restore normal global energy supplies. Cho also asked for Iran's special attention and support for the safety of South Korean nationals in the country. He noted that many vessels, including South Korean ships, are currently anchored in the Strait of Hormuz and requested necessary safety measures from the Iranian side. Seoul says Araghchi explained Tehran's position and the two sides agreed to stay in communication. Now, over at the top office, President Lee Jae-myung chaired a high-level defense meeting. He called for stronger defense capabilities as geopolitical uncertainty continues to grow. Our Blue House correspondent, Song Yoo-jin, reports.
President Lee Jae-myung has again underscored the importance of strong self-reliant defense capabilities.
그리고 이 국방은 누구에게도 맡겨서는 안 될 우리 스스로가 완벽하게 최종적으로 책임져야 될 핵심입니다. 우리가 어떤 상황이 처하더라도 누구의 도움도 받지 않고 스스로.
Lee presided over the first Central Integrated Defense Council meeting of his administration at the Blue House on Monday. The council convenes officials from the government, the military, and the civilian sector to assess the country's defense readiness and review key policy outcomes. Under South Korean law, it must meet at least once a year. There, President Lee described self-reliant defense as the key to South Korea's defense system, citing an, quote, increasingly complex and rapidly changing geopolitical environment.
민, 관, 군, 경, 소방 등 모든 방위 요소가 유사시에 한 몸처럼 일사불란하게 대응할 수 있어야 국가와 국민을 지켜낼 수 있습니다.
He called for being better prepared so the country can defend itself under any circumstances, but while also expressing confidence in South Korea's capabilities. Lee noted that the country's annual defense spending is about 1.4 times North Korea's GDP and that its military strength ranks fifth in the world. The president's remarks come as calls for a stronger self-reliant defense have grown recently, especially after reports that some U.S. forces' Korea assets could be deployed to the Middle East in response to the U.S. war in Iran.
국제 질서의 영향에 따라서 외부의 지원이 없어질 경우 우리의 뜻과 다르게, 우리의 의지와 다르게 그럴 경우는 얼마든지 발생할 수 있죠.
Also, the Pentagon's latest national defense strategy states that, quote, South Korea is capable of taking primary responsibility for deterring North Korea with critical but more limited U.S. support. The fact that President Lee personally chaired the meeting, typically led by the Prime Minister, highlights his focus on strengthening an integrated defense system. As the situation in the Middle East continues and inter-Korean relations remain strained. Song Yoo-jin, 아리랑 뉴스.
The situation in the Middle East is also taking a toll on local markets. South Korea's benchmark Kospi lost nearly 6.5%, while the value of the Korean won plunged to its lowest level in 17 years. Our economy correspondent Kim Do-yeon has the numbers.
The South Korean won closed at 1,517.3 against the US dollar on Monday, finishing above the 1,510 won mark for the first time in 17 years. The depreciation stems from extreme volatility gripping global financial markets following Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and a 48-hour ultimatum issued by U.S. President Donald Trump. International oil prices have surged, leading to investors turning to safe haven assets. In fact, the dollar index climbed back toward the 100 mark. The benchmark Kospi also took a hit, closing at 5,405.75, down 6.49% from the previous closing. The steep decline prompted authorities to activate a sell sidecar early in the session to temporarily halt program trading. Foreign investors led the exodus, offloading trillions of won in local shares. This resulted in significant losses for top market cap companies, including tech heavyweights Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, as well as Hyundai Motor and LG Energy Solution. However, analysts note this does not reflect a fundamental weakness in the tech sector.
It is difficult to say there is any major damage to semiconductor industry fundamentals or exports. The sell-off is largely driven by a preference for safe assets and securing cash.
Analysts say whether the situation will be prolonged will be decided in the next few days. The nation is now in a complex trilemma. Policymakers are forced to navigate a rapidly depreciating exchange rate, a plunging stock market, and the renewed threat of high inflation from soaring oil prices, which heavily complicates future interest rate decisions.
There is a spreading sentiment that rising inflation will prevent the Fed from cutting rates and could instead lead to a rate hike.
Some analysts suggest the severe market reaction in South Korea is a combination of geopolitical fear and a natural market correction.
The crash is a combination of a necessary correction phase for an overheated market mixed with the ongoing Trump phobia.
To mitigate the economic fallout, the South Korean government and the ruling party are currently drafting a supplementary budget estimated at 25 trillion won. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
And across the border, Pyongyang played host to the first session of the Supreme People's Assembly this past weekend, during which Kim Jong-un was reappointed as the head of the political body. Our foreign affairs correspondent Oh Soo-young reports.
North Korea has reappointed Kim Jong-un as chairman of the State Affairs Commission in a leadership reshuffle that indicates tighter regime control. The North State media said Monday that the Supreme People's Assembly, the regime's rubber-stamp parliament, held the first meeting of its 15th term on Sunday. Kim was once again elevated to the top state post, while one of his closest aides, Cho Yong-won, replaced Choi Ryong-ae as president of the Presidium of the Supreme People's Assembly, a position equivalent to parliamentary speaker. Cho was also named first vice chairman of the State Affairs Commission, seemingly sealing his status as one of the most powerful figures in the regime.
By appointing Cho Yong-won, a longtime close aide, Kim Jong-un appears to be placing loyalists not only in the Workers' Party but also in state bodies, tightening his grip on power.
At the same time, Kim Jong-un's younger sister Kim Hyo-joo was removed from the State Affairs Commission.
Kim Hyo-joo has mainly issued statements attacking the United States and South Korea and is known to have been involved in policy toward both. The absence of her cabinet reappointment may indirectly reflect that Kim Jong-un has no intention of resuming dialogue with Washington or Seoul for now.
The reshuffle also pointed to changes in the military and security bureaucracy. The Second Economy Commission, the body overseeing the planning and production of military goods, was placed under the cabinet. That suggests an effort to emphasize cabinet influence across the full economy, including the defense industrial sector. The Supreme People's Assembly sets out new appointments, legal revisions and budget approval, in line with last month's Party Congress, which sets out the regime's new strategic line every 5 years. The focus now shifts to the remainder of the session and to whether Kim Jong-un's hostile two-state doctrine will further be reflected in constitutional revisions. Kim first laid out the concept at a year-end party meeting in late 2023, when he said the two Koreas were no longer moving towards reunification, but had become two hostile states. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
In other news, BTS is back after an almost 4-year halt in group activities. And this past weekend, the K-pop sensation reunited with fans at a historic venue in downtown Seoul in what many called a royal reunion. Our Park Gon-woo was there and follows this report.
The 7 members lit up Gwanghwamun Gate, the main gate of Gyeongbokgung Palace, snapping a nearly 4-year hiatus in style.
I can't believe the 7 of us are all standing together on this stage today. Wow. We know it's been a long way, right? Thank you for waiting for us.
The group opened with Body to Body, the opening track of their new album Arirang, blending a modern reinterpretation of the traditional folk song Arirang, performed by traditional singers. 7 more songs, including the album's lead track Swim, were performed live for the first time. The group capped the show with hits like Butter and Dynamite.
As long as you're with us, we always do our best to bring you great music and performances. Thank you!
RM, who had injured his ankle during rehearsals, performed with limited movement but showed no shortage of energy.
No matter what happens, we promise to keep swimming together. This is just the beginning. We love you, ARMY!
Fans waved their light sticks wildly, lighting the night atmosphere while dancing to the music, and some fans even burst into tears. BTS's agency said around 100,000 fans were on site.
It was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and I got to hear new songs from BTS as well as my favorite songs.
Amazing, and it's just fun to be like with everybody in Seoul, kind of getting together for a big cultural event.
The concert was also praised for running smoothly and safely.
Everybody knew what they were supposed to do. Nobody was trampling anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really good.
That was made possible by the help of some 10,000 personnel, including police officers, as well as thorough security checks at multiple entry gates. The event also extended far beyond Korea, with the concert streamed live on Netflix to audiences in over 190 countries, topping the Netflix movie charts in 77 countries. After successfully finishing the much-anticipated comeback show, BTS will now head to the US to remind the world the group is back with more performances along the way before flying back to Korea to kick off the biggest K-pop world tour ever, Arirang, across 34 cities, starting in Goyang. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
In a related news, BTS has set a new milestone with its 5th album, Arirang, surpassing 4 million sales within just 3 days of its release. The Arirang album sold more than 4,006,600 copies, achieving BTS's highest sales record within the first week of release. According to Spotify, the album's lead track, Swim, ranked #1 on the daily chart for 2 consecutive days following its release on Friday. Another track, Body to Body, claimed the 2nd spot. Riding strong momentum across both streaming and physical sales, Swim also ranked 1st on the daily charts of major Korean music platforms. And on the retail front, BTS fans are fueling remarkable domestic consumption with their purchase of K-pop-related products. Our Kim Jong-un takes a look.
These are characters inspired by BTS members, items that targeted fans visiting Seoul for the concert. Shelves filled with merchandise featuring their photos and names. This is K-Wave, a K-pop specialty store inside a duty-free shop in Myeongdong, one of Seoul's busiest shopping districts.
Items like magnets and puzzles kept selling out, even after repeated restocking. We've also seen a more diverse mix of customers, with more visitors from outside Asia, and the impact extended beyond our K-pop booth to nearby food and fashion sections.
Since early in the morning, fans have been coming in, eager to connect with their favorite artists.
I came to Korea for the free BTS concert. There are many places selling merchandise in Myeongdong, but I prefer this store because it's well organized and has official goods.
Dedicated entirely to K-pop merchandise, stores like this are becoming major destinations for fans visiting Korea. And the impact is visible in the numbers, with a sharp increase in visitors ahead of the concert. Foreign shopper numbers at the duty-free shop rose 32% from a week earlier, while BTS merchandise sales at a K-pop specialty store increased more than 5-fold. The impact reached beyond duty-free shops, with spending spilling over into the broader retail sector. At one convenience store chain, sales at 10 outlets near Gwanghwamun nearly quadrupled compared to the same days a week earlier. Stores located closer to the concert venue saw an even sharper increase. with sales jumping more than 6 times. This surge across the retail sector underscores the distinctive nature of fan-driven consumption.
Fan-driven spending is typically more intense, reflecting a stronger interest in Korea than that of general consumers. This demand is also spreading beyond BTS to other products with distinct Korean elements. If the trend continues, it could spread to general overseas travelers through social media, supporting long-term positive spillovers.
ARMY-nomics is now visible in the data, showing how a cultural phenomenon is translating into a tangible economic impact. Kim Jong-un, Arirang News.
And BTS's comeback was celebrated across Seoul all weekend as fans from home and abroad gathered to welcome the group back. Our Cho Young-eun has the story.
At Hyo-joo Hangang Park, the BTS City Arirang program welcomed weekend visitors. People strolling along the Han River naturally drifted into the pop-up venue, turning the park into a lively festival scene.
Today is very sunny, very good. And we knew that here we can do some picnic and have a nice time, and just suddenly we understood there's a BTS event here, very nice.
We took the Hanggang bus today and thought Gwanghamon would be too crowded. We heard that Hyo-joo has been prepared nicely for playing with children, so we decided to come here.
At the Arirang playground, visitors can ride bicycles and swings that follow the beat of the tracks from the Arirang album, allowing them to really immerse themselves in the music. Children and elderly visitors alike enjoyed the interactive elements as the park transformed into a vibrant space where K-pop and people came together. BTS fans also responded positively, noting that the citywide stamp rally, which takes them to landmarks across Seoul, offers a chance to discover other parts of the city.
Because I couldn't get tickets to either of the performances, I am happy that I could come here and enjoy something, at least something small. So I'm glad that I could share this with them, even though I won't really be at the concert today.
Landmarks across Seoul, including Dongdaemun Design Plaza, are being lit up in the colors of BTS's new album, with special lightning displays running through March 20 through April 19. Other areas such as Cheonggyecheon Stream and Yongsan Station are also being transformed into exhibition spaces, with more programs set to roll out in April as the group kicks off its world tour. The festival is organized in partnership with the Seoul Metropolitan Government, bringing together mobility, hospitality, finance, and food sectors to enhance the overall visitor experience. Cho Young-eun, Arirang News.
Time now to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. And for that, we have our sports editor, Paul Neat, joining us in the studio. Good evening, Paul.
Hello there.
So let's start our discussion with golf, an LPGA win for a South Korean star.
Yes, that's right. Kim Hyo-joo has won the LPGA Fortinet Founders Cup at Sharon Heights Golf and Country Club in Menlo Park, California on Sunday. Kim Hyo-joo finished at 16 under 272 to win her 8th LPGA Tour title. Kim finished 1 stroke ahead of Nelly Korda, but having been 5 strokes ahead before the final round, her lead was whittled right down. But a couple of birdies and some key par saves ensured Kim left with the $450,000 in prize money. The one-shot lead at 18 under was regained by making a shot birdie putt on the 11th, while Korda saved par from a greenside bunker. It's a tournament that she's won before, doing so in 2015 when just a teenager. Elsewhere, Im Jin-hee and Kim Se-young finished tied for 3rd at 11 under, and Queen Australian Min-ji Lee as well as Yoo Hae-ran finished tied for 5th at 10 under.
Wow, so another strong showing for Korean golfers indeed. Now, if we move on to baseball, it appears as though it will be another season for in the minors for Kim Hye-seong.
Right, yeah, despite some good showings in spring training as well, but the utility player was on Sunday optioned to the LA Dodgers minor league team, the Oklahoma City Hornets. This is despite a batting average in exhibition games of .407, a home run, 6 RBIs and 5 steals. Kim began his rookie campaign last year in the minors as well and earned his call-up in early May. He went on to play 71 of the team's 162 games. As reported by Yonhap News, manager Dave Roberts said that he and his staff still haven't seen Kim Hye-seong play all that much. Defending World Series champions will begin the MLB season on Thursday at home to the Arizona Diamondbacks.
But when we come to domestic baseball, judging from the spring training attendances, it looks like it's going to be another great year for the KBO.
Right, there was a record number of fans at pre-season games across the weekend, especially on Sunday. A total of 85,584 fans attended the 5 games, which is a new single-day record for pre-season in KBO. The biggest gate of the day was in Daegu for the LG Twins at the Samsung Lions with over 23,000 in attendance. It was a similar figure in Jamshil in Seoul for the Kia Tigers versus the Doosan Bears. The previous record was set just the day before, but last season and the season before that, KBO surpassed 10 million total fans, setting new records in both years. A new record is expected this year too.
Well, we will definitely be looking forward to that, Paul. Now, finally, we have to touch upon K-League to a hot start from FC Seoul.
Yes, so hot. In fact, it's the best the club has ever done. FC Seoul on Sunday earned a 5-0 home win over Gwangju FC. This meant 4 straight wins to start the season for the very first time in the club's history. The last time Seoul won the K-League was 10 years ago, and so they appointed Kim Ki-dong to try and turn the club's fortunes around. So far, under Kim Ki-dong, Seoul have finished 4th and 6th. But heading into the March international break, they lead the league 2 points clear of Ulsan, who are also unbeaten, but drew 0-0 with Gimcheon at the weekend. Last season's top 2 on Saturday they met Jeonbuk. They beat Daejeon 1-0 in a clash of the 2 main title favourites. At the bottom end of the table, Gangwon, Pohang and Jeju are still looking for their first wins of the season.
Right, so plenty of emerging stories for the season. Thank you so much for the updates, Paul.
Thank you.
It was a clear day across the country today, but tomorrow we'll see partly cloudy skies nationwide. Jeju-do Island will remain mostly overcast, while the Chungcheong-do provinces and southern regions will gradually turn cloudy from the morning. Air quality will be a concern, with fine dust levels reaching bad in the capital area and parts of the central and southwestern regions. Morning temperatures will dip to around freezing in the inland areas of Gangwon-do and Chungcheongbuk-do provinces and the Gyeongbuk region. With daytime highs rising much higher, we're looking at a large temperature gap of around 15 to 20 degrees. So please take care of your health. Frost is also expected between dawn and early morning in eastern Gyeonggi-do, Gangwon-do and parts of the Gyeongbuk region. Looking ahead, Jeju-do Island will see 5 to 10 millimeters of rain from late tomorrow night through Wednesday morning. As for temperatures, Seoul will start the day at 7 degrees Celsius, Daejeon at 5 degrees, Busan at 10 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 17 degrees, Chuncheon, Daegu, Jeju will all top out at 18 degrees. Big temperature swings will continue for now, and rain is expected on Jeju-do Island from late tomorrow into Wednesday morning. That's all for Korea. Here's a look at the weather around the world.
And that's all we have for tonight. Thank you for watching. This was Kim Mo-gyun filling in for Kim Dami, and I'll be back with Within the Frame at 8 p.m. Korea time, so stay tuned.